speakable. All right, so I'm just gonna start with an introduction as always, and then we'll go ahead and have the co-host introduce herself too. So my name is Rainice. I'm a junior at Eastern, and I'm studying political science pre-law, trying to become a lawyer and fight for wrongfully incarcerated people of color, because, you know, the justice system just is never on our side. So I'm hoping I could be that person that can make a small difference. Even though I know it is the system that's broken, like there's always those people in the broken system that are able to make a difference. So that's what I'm hoping to do with that. And then, yeah, co-host, you can go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I am now co-host. Some of you may already know me. I do show up to every Zoom, but for those of you who don't, my name is Taitiana. I have been graciously offered a co-host position, and I'm very excited to help out and continue to grow this group with you all. I don't go to school at the moment, but I am ever so hardworkingly trying to go to beauty school so I can, cosmetology school, so I can specifically have my own hair salon that specifies in Black men and women's hair, because just for so long, I mean, Black hair care just wasn't a thing. And then it was super just hush hush. And now it's like a big thing and people are actually getting into it, being natural. And I love it. And I definitely want to be a part of that movement with everybody. I do have a hair page. I put the little thing in my name. It's at Pretty Curly 60. Follow me and please help me grow my little business. If you need braids, I got you. But anyway, thank you, Rainice, for offering me this position though. I literally am over the moon about it. I love it. I love doing this. And as I always say, I hope we're just gonna like blow up on YouTube one day and it'll just be a huge thing. So, you know, fingers crossed for that. But both of our goals for this Zoom session, just in general, is to help bring awareness to issues that all of us have faced in one form or another. And just have a safe space for people to be able to talk about their issues and not feel judged or hushed quiet about it. Like, let's talk about it, bring it open, let's have these difficult conversations that people don't really want to have. Rainice.
Yeah, thank you so much. I actually just posted on my story how after George Floyd, you know, a lot of people started kind of becoming silent about these issues. So I think it's important to still have like something like this that keeps going on, because a lot of people only want to care about Black lives when it's on trend. So like, that's why I'm really passionate about the Zoom, and I'm really grateful for those who do always come when they can. Like, obviously I know life gets in the way, you have jobs and like stuff like that. But when you guys do come, it means a lot, because it means that you guys are still showing up for Black lives, even in a small way. So yeah, I think it's super important, and I'm so excited that I'm slowly expanding Speak Your Truth. And yes, Taitiana goes to every single meeting, so she's a perfect person, you know, to co-host. And I really recommend her hair page, because she's done my braids a few times and I really love how they turn out. She does singles and they're knotless, and it seemed to put a lot less stress on my hair when I did the knotless version of the braids. So yeah, I would definitely check out her hair page, guys. So then moving on, if you guys ever want certain topics, you know, discussed here, you can always bring them to me or Taitiana, and you can send them to, you know, the Speak Your Truth on Instagram page, so we can make sure we get to all the topics. I mean, we'll never run out of topics because there's always something going on, you know, relevant to the struggles of Black people. So like, you know, we could have like 2 discussions on colorism, and like we could honestly keep talking about the N-word. Like, everything is always relevant. So yeah, I'm always looking for other topics. And then, yeah, we can go ahead and get into today's topic, Taitiana.
Oh my God. Okay, so today we're talking about racism. Just general racism, whatever that means to you, looks like to you, whatever's happened to you, experiences. I know, so the speakers are gonna be Rainice, me, and Serenity. Me and Rainice kind of have like similar topics. She definitely has a lot more going on, but we're basically talking about racism within the school systems. I'm mainly focusing on elementary schools. Rainice has a lot of different topics within her topic. And then Serenity is talking about Black men degrading Black women, which is a very hot topic. And I'm very excited to hear what she has to say about that. So Rainice, if you want to get started.
Yes, thank you so much. Okay, so yeah, today I wanted to talk about racism in schools. Again, it's another one where you could talk about it forever. With this topic, I recommend the documentary 13 on Netflix, and it kind of talks about the prison or school to prison pipeline. And that's kind of like the area I'm touching on here. So I just wanted to start off by sharing a few personal stories. So first off, Marysville, as I've told you guys before, is super white, obviously. I mean, just like the area I moved into now. So there's a lot of like embedded racism into like everything. So one example for the racism in the school system is actually my cousin, Genesis. She was in 3rd grade and something was going on with her. I don't remember, I think just like stupid little kid, like misbehaving. And like, she did start having like a tantrum type of situation in the elementary school. And they actually called the security guard. The teacher called the security guard because she was frightened of a 3rd grader having a tantrum. And she actually got in like really big trouble. I think they like went as far as to like suspend her, and like, you know, that type of stuff goes on your record. And she's literally in 3rd grade. And that's how they actually approach a lot of the situations when it comes to Black youth in Marysville. We get like, you know, a lot more strict enforcement. And I feel like that's a similar theme that my brother's now going through. I warned him, I was like, I don't know if you should be, if your senior year, you want to switch to Marysville, like it's going to be a real culture shock for you because, you know, you come from Mariner and there's a whole bunch of Hispanics, there's Russians, there's Africans, like there's just all this melting pot of different cultures and everything, but Marysville is not like that. And my cousin, she did do a lot of work to Getchell specifically, which is a high school in Marysville, and that's the one my brother goes to. She started the first Black student union. She pushed, you know, a lot of our issues forward, but at the end of the day, she graduated. So I feel like in a way, they kind of feel off the hook if there's not that student to like, you know, kind of pressure them to stay in the right direction. And my brother, he got targeted actually from the security guard. He was saying that he was sagging his pants and he needs to pull it up, which I know is like some bull because I've never once seen my brother sag like a lot, at least like to the point where it's noticeable, because not to put you out there, Key, but he do got some booty. So I know he's not going to be sagging like that. So they're obviously like, yeah, that's just something they chose to target to, you know, get under his skin. And also there's like the Black population that is there, they're not like my brother. They're more like you could tell they grew up in that area where, you know, Keon, he came from a diverse area. He's a lot different than the other Black kids that are there. So yeah, he's been facing a lot of targeting, and I just feel that this is like a really big issue with a lot of schools that have that strict enforcement policy, and a lot of schools that work really closely with the police. They feel like they can change the student by putting stuff on their record, and I just never got that, because I'm just like, you want them to do better and learn from their mistakes, so you put things that are going to stay on their record forever on their record, and you know, get police involved and do all this at a young age thinking you're going to help them change, when really you're just criminalizing them at a young age. And schools that work really closely with the police, those schools enforce their policies more strictly against Black students majority of the time. So like you always see like punishments being given to Black students more often, and they're just like more negative towards Black students, you know? So like, yeah, I wanted to bring that up because that is, like I said, to do with the prison to pipeline, or the school to prison pipeline, which is process of criminalizing youth that is carried out by disciplinary policies and practices within schools that put students into contact with law enforcement. And it was just like a complete change from Mariner, where like the police is the last people you call, to like the police is the first person you call. And it's definitely going to impact Black students more when there's a small Black population. And then, like I said, my brother sticks out. He's not like the other Black kids that do go there. So yeah, I know that some solutions that have been brought up are, okay, let's remove some of the policing and let's add more counseling. That's what my cousin was trying to push for when she was in school. But a lot of the things they would say was, you know, the funding, we don't have the funding to get more counselors and all this and that. So then I'm bringing this topic to you guys because I'm like, what else do you guys think would be like, you know, helpful solutions for my brother's situation and for so many other like students of color situation? Like, I wish this wasn't even a thing, and I wish there wasn't like such heavily policing in like, you know, high schools and stuff like that, because at the end of the day, it doesn't just affect Black students, but it disproportionately affects Black students more so. So yeah, did you guys have any solutions for that issue of the policing and everything? Because yeah, I just hate that, you know, they think they're teaching students a lesson, but it's like, no, you're just ruining their lives and leaving a stain on their record forever. So yeah, anybody want to jump in and any helpful solutions for that?
I would say just like get the word out, because you're talking about Marysville, like Marysville is so white, and I think everybody knows that. And I remember what is it called? That situation happened when the boy had like texted that he was going to shoot up the school, and then like the people, what was it, like a lot of the Marysville community, I feel like supported him, but I felt like had it been the other way around and it was a Black person, guy or girl, that said that, it would have been completely different, because Marysville has already had a shooting, and I feel like that's not something to play about. Even if they hadn't, you shouldn't talk about stuff like that. And it's sad that like that type of stuff goes on in the district, because even when I came from Everett to Mariner, that was a big culture shock for me, because even though they're not that far, Everett is completely different than Mariner. I would say maybe like keep record of everything that happens, because I'm sure they're not going to like they're not gonna like keep count of how many times they bother you, but they're gonna keep count of how many times, oh, he did this or he did that. So be sure to have something on your own account of how you see it, because I think when it comes down to it and how they keep getting away with it, they take like their point of view of it, and that's the only thing that gets broadcasted or talked to about. So yeah, I would just say to keep track of everything.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's actually a good solution, because I didn't even think of like, yeah, keeping track of stuff on your own end. Mom, were you gonna say something? Because
Yeah, I just want to say that you guys, as you get older, you have to be your own advocate, and you have to speak up on your own behalf, even if you're, you know, feel like you're the only person. You have to speak up for yourself, and you have to pay attention to what's happening. I think Keon was railroaded and said some things that he wished he hadn't said in that situation, that I wish he hadn't said in that situation, because then the school took it a completely different direction that it didn't need to be taken. And fortunately for him, I was paying attention, and I made them change what they put in his record. And you have to pay attention to what they're putting down on that paper, because we've seen it happen to him in elementary school where they make him sign a piece of paper for discipline. He doesn't know what he's signing. He just knows that he's been told he can't leave that room until he signs it. So he signs it saying that he did something that he didn't do, just so that he can get out of that room. And that goes on all over the place all the time, starting at elementary school, and it continues in high school. And they got away with it this time because Keon turned 18 2 weeks before. And so they didn't call me until they wanted me to come pick him up. So just really be aware. Don't say anything. If you aren't sure of the situation, you don't have to talk. You don't have to give them anything, because they will twist and turn until they get what they want from you. So just be your own advocate and be aware of what's going on.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I feel like both of those I could definitely agree with, like, for, you know, solutions you can work on within yourself. I think someone had put something in the chat. What'd they say? They said, Marquardt, she said, we had an issue with a girl feeling targeted by a sub this past week, and she met with the principal and advocated for herself and started to educate the admin about how what they say and deal with Black students feels racist. She felt really good about the chance she got to share her perspective. I invited her tonight. All right, yeah, that's really good. Yeah, I feel like, thank you so much, Marquardt, for that. And hopefully maybe one time she can make it and share her story, because I'd be interested to hear that. Because it's really sad that a lot of like Black students do have to go through more targeting, and it sucks because it's like, you have to be better as a Black person. You can't be the same as everyone else. You have to be better. You can't make a mistake. And like, it's just not right, you know, because we're students at the end of the day, just like everyone else, we mess up. But for Black students, it's more catastrophic to mess up. So it's like, you do have to be better than everyone, which is what I told my brother when he, you know, got there. And sadly, he had to learn the hard way that, oh, shoot, this is serious. Like, this is really something I have to deal with. So yeah, thank you guys so much. Nettie has her hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that this is why local elections are so important. We just had a local election, so if you're of age, you should definitely be voting. If you aren't of age, you should definitely be, making sure that your parents vote, because it really does matter when we have these local elections to get these council members in there, these people that'll fight for your educational rights. So it's so important to be involved, specifically in local elections. That was it.
Yeah, thank you so much. I definitely agree. I'm not like one of those conspiracists that is like, oh, voting doesn't matter. To me, I always vote. And my mom has always told us to vote, you know, because Washington, you know, we've been good so far, but we can always be better. And especially if we get the right people voting. I mean, look what happened with Georgia. It literally saved us from freaking Trump because people decided to vote, you know? So yeah, I definitely agree. Getting the right people in power is important. Also, speaking of people in power, I feel like getting more Black teachers or Black counselors into the schools is like super good. But I know, speaking with Marquardt, she was saying that a lot of people of color don't apply for those teaching positions. So like, hopefully in the future, there's more interest in that area. I know I started off wanting to be a teacher, but then I kind of went the lawyer route. But yeah, I think it's definitely important, even if it's not a teacher of color, to have teachers that are aware of these issues. Because in Mariner, that made all the difference for me, having like a teacher like Marquardt, a teacher like Pena that talk about, you know, race in class. And it's important because I feel like then you have less of these run-ins of like targeting and everything, because everybody's more aware and stuff like that. So yeah. Katrina.
Hello, I'm just kind of like thinking out loud, but I was thinking it's really crazy how deeply integrated that the racism is in like Marysville, like in the infrastructure of the school. And it's very like, it's shocking to hear because I do go to Mariner and it's not always put up front to me what's going on at Mariner, but then you hear like worst case scenarios from other schools. And it's very shocking. And I wanted to go back to what Serenity said, because I was thinking the same thing with documentation. And I was thinking about how the documentation could be taken like efficiently. I recently met with my coach, Katrina Rainey's, and Ms. Markert, you know her, because I coach junior cheer. And she told me how to take documentation of the children being naughty to bring to the parents. And I was thinking the same structure could like apply to school administrators, which it sounds like pretty shitty to be like, oh, the administrators are being naughty. I have to take documentation of what they're doing. But it's efficient to mark down like the day it happened, what happened, and do it in the moment. So in the event that it stacks up over time, you have enough to bring to whoever can actually like handle them. Because people like that, administrators, do like to take a lot of power away from students. And I feel like if you can be collective and organized, they're going to respect you and want you to take it back. And that's all I have to say.
Yeah, thank you so much. I definitely agree with like the documentation. And off of that, I was thinking what would be good too is because they do have a Black Student Union there, maybe he could collaborate with the other Black students and talk about like what they all go through at the school, because, you know, collective action is a lot more powerful a lot of the time. So yeah, I feel like that would be good too if everyone documented like, you know, what they had to deal with. That could definitely make a big difference more consistently, because like I said, my cousin did come in and make those changes, but it's hard to maintain them a lot of the time. I feel like for just any area where you're trying to make change, you need that maintaining. And it's hard when people are graduating and leaving, you know, you have to find someone who's really committed to like staying with that change. If I lived in the area, shoot, I would be the person, but I'm over here in an even worse area of whiteness. So yeah, but Rachel, you got your hand up. Oh yeah, everybody, by the way, there is a little hand emoji. So if you ever want to talk and you don't want to like talk out, then you could put the little hand emoji, or we read the chat too, so.
So I was just gonna say, like, for a suggestion, I don't know, like, if your cousin did this. I have no idea how she, anyways, sorry. So like white people, they like to say, oh, I don't see it. You know, I think this, blah, blah, blah. Like, granted, you know, I'm white. I used to think like that. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. So it's like, especially with a school like this, they're gonna need like proof. Like if they don't see it, it's not happening in their heads. You know, that's like what they think racism isn't a big deal because fucking, I'm so sorry. they don't see it. So like the documentation, like you could just bring that to them, you know, be like, hey, this is what happened for real. Like you cannot refute this. This is what happened. And bringing in evidence from like probably the only people that are gonna believe is white people. So evidence from white scientists, you know, like big names that they know or could easily find. Like it sucks because so many times a white person is not gonna believe you unless it's said from another white person's perspective. And they say racism doesn't exist. It's not very smart of them. But anyways, there was something else that I was going to say and I forgot what it was, but that is my 2 cents.
Thank you so much, Rachel. And by the way, nobody has to apologize. You guys can talk however you want on here because this is for the youth. Like, if people don't like it, then, you know. But anyways, yeah, I definitely agree with you. It's sad, but that is the case like a lot of the time. And it's because, you know, if it's not directly affecting people a lot of the time, then they just push it out of their minds. So like, yeah, I feel like, yeah, maybe just like getting more people involved, like student wise might be helpful for him and for like other schools that have this issue. I'm just, yeah, I feel, you know, sometimes I feel kind of defeated because it's like a lot of this stuff is like institutionalized into everything. And so like, it's hard to make that change unless you really have like, a person of authority backing you. And I know there are some teachers at Marysville that are trying to work on like these issues and everything, but they do run into issues with like the school district and stuff like that. So it's a little disheartening, but yeah, I feel like the documentation and collective action will definitely help. Advocating for oneself will definitely help. I think a lot of people, a lot of time you have to put the work in, and that's what a lot of people don't want to do. I see from a lot of Black youth themselves, like, they'll have an injustice happen to them, but then they'll just kind of let it go because they don't want to follow up with it. Maybe they're disheartened, or, they don't feel like there is going to be any real change. But I feel like you should try to push for change, because it's better to have a chance that you could like, shake things up than just accept it. I've never been one to accept anything. So like, that's why I was like, okay, let's bring this up at the Zoom and see like what solutions people could have. And a lot of them are easy solutions, like keeping documentation for yourself. So yeah, thank you guys so much. That's my little piece. Taitiana, back to you.
I don't know if you all just heard that little ding, sorry. I'm just, hurry up. I'm waiting for my mom, she wants to hear what I'm saying. Sorry, I'm very unprepared. So I'm basically talking about racism in schools as well, but I'm more focused on elementary school because it's where your education starts, and that's kind of where you build yourself as a person. But I do have, so I'm gonna share like a personal story, but I also have these facts that I got from, it's really random, but Ben and Jerry, the ice cream company, and like, it sounds so unprofessional, but they made a thing for BLM back in 2017. And it starts from elementary school to college to after you graduate and stuff like that. So I'm just going to read off some of the important details from each little paragraph that they had for each section. So it starts off with racism starts early, and Black students are more likely to be suspended from preschool. Black students make up 19% of all preschoolers, but represent 51% of all suspensions in preschool. We're not even in kindergarten yet. White students make up 41% of all preschoolers, but represent 26% of all suspensions. Why, you may ask? I have the answer. It's because Black boys, 10 years and older, and my brother's 10 years old, so I can only imagine what people think when they look at him. But Black boys 10 years and older are perceived as significantly older and less innocent when compared to white boys. And my mom brought up a fact or a thing that they're also more sexualized than white boys. And she had this coworker who is in his 60s. He's a very successful Black man. He's CEO of one of the branches within her company, and he used to play football for Stanford. He just did it all, a little trifecta over there. But there was an incident in high school where he went to a Catholic high school, so it was predominantly white students, and this one white girl ended up getting pregnant, and everyone pointed the finger at him for getting her pregnant, even his football coaches. And he was very just disheartened and very taken aback by that, because I mean, his football coaches have been with him for every day for however long he had been within this high school, and they're gonna assume that he's the one who got this girl pregnant because he's Black. And he said that was like kind of the first time he realized his skin matters, which is ridiculous within itself. Moving on, K through 12, a 2014 study with the US Department of Education showed that Black students represent 19% of students with disabilities, but 36% of that 19% of students with disabilities are restrained at school. when Black students and white students face similar issues, like if you get in trouble for like mouthing off to the teacher or something like that, like they both did the same thing to get in trouble. Black students are suspended and expelled 3 times more often than white students. Black students make up 16% of student enrollment, but represent 27% of students referred to law enforcement and 31% of students subjected to arrest. While white students make up 51% of enrollment, 41% of white students are referred to law enforcement and 39% of those are arrested. So white people are getting arrested more than Black people are, yet we're still looked at as we're criminals and we're getting suspended and expelled at an exemplary rate over white students. Doesn't make sense. And touching on what Rainice had said with the school to prison pipeline, which is basically the phenomena has become known as the school to prison pipeline because it's channeling I can't read. Students right into the criminal system where people of color expect unfair treatment as a matter of course, with the whole security guards and everything, and there just being law enforcement on school grounds that really only detain the Black students over the white students, which also their next topic says, so maybe I'll drop out. And I think this one is very interesting. It says repeated suspensions and expulsions also eventually convince many students to drop out, and a disproportionate number of those leaving schools are African American, Latino, or Native American. Makes sense then that the graduation rate for those students lags well behind the rate for white students. And I thought this was particularly interesting because repeated suspensions and expulsions. So my fiance, unfortunately, did not graduate high school. And it is not because he's dumb or just didn't want to do it or didn't go or whatever. At one point, I was driving him back and forth to school every day. It was because an incident, I think that had happened. It was either like late freshman year or early sophomore year for him. I don't really have the exact timeline for that, but regardless, he got in a fight at school. And it took, I guess, the principal and whoever else, this happened at Mariner. He got in a fight at school. It took them, he got suspended that day. It took them 45 days to investigate the fight and what happened and whatever they're investigating. And then after that 45 days, they officially suspended him for another 45 days. So he was behind 3 months on school. I mean, your teachers can send you assignments, but you're not, you don't even know what's going on in class. So those assignments really don't do anything. He fell incredibly far behind. His credits were just nowhere near where he needed to be. He had to do online school and it was just too much and very overwhelming for him and very discouraging that he, is so far behind and it's going to take him all this time to play catch up. I mean, you don't even want to anymore. So he did drop out. Luckily his dad was in a very good job position and got him a job. And now he's doing great being who he is. But so yes, that I found interesting. Also, are we still effectively segregated? Yes. Schools predominantly attended by colored students are severely underfunded. They have less experienced or even unlicensed teachers working there because they cannot afford someone who has a whole bunch of experience or someone who even has a license to teach. So academic performance suffers and leads to dropouts while putting the dream of college at risk for those who remain because they don't have, I mean, the teachers teaching, like I could just go there and teach. I've helped with little kids before. So therefore I apparently would be qualified to work, which is it's just, education is so important. And it's just when we're just winging people out just to say, oh yeah, these Black kids have a student, it's fine, or a teacher, it's fine. Like, no, it's not. Like we need to get more qualified people within these areas so everyone can be successful. For colleges, it says professors spanning race, age, and gender respond more frequently to white sounding names. Dealing with stresses like this for students and other racial encounters can lead to mental health issues that go undetected, which I believe, and I like very much feel like, and it even says 50%, you're 50% less likely to be hired from a job if you have a Black sounding name. And that makes me think, like, I don't know what, my name's Taitiana. I don't know if people think I'm like Russian or Mexican or like what they think I am, but clearly it's not like a white name that a lot of people just have. So that made me like really wonder, like, because I've applied to so many jobs. Like I can't even begin to tell you how many. I've gotten 3 callbacks. I've applied to at least 30 different jobs within the last 3 months, 3 different callbacks, which is very infuriating because a girl needs money. Anyway, but it says, even the debt is uneven. Black students take on more debt. Result is hurrying. Oh, so because they have more debt when they go into college, the result of that is hurrying to find a job after you graduate. But even when a Black person has like a high demand degree, like engineering, 10% of Black engineering graduates are unemployed compared to the 6% of all engineering graduates, which again, probably comes from you have a Black name. I just can't hire you. I don't want to say it. I don't want to try to pronounce it. They're not even going to deal with it. So that was from the little Ben and Jerry presentation thing that they had. Very much facts, very sad facts, but unfortunately it is happening. And for my personal story, or just situations that keep happening, with the whole Black students get more in trouble than the white students do, was very evident at my brother's school. He's in elementary school, he's in 5th grade. And he unfortunately made fun of a kid's shirt. It was a Fortnite shirt and he said Fortnite sucks, whatever. That kid ended up telling the teacher, and this tall white man went up to my brother at lunch and was just, I don't know specifically what he said. I obviously wasn't there, and my brother being a little kid, I mean, I don't know if he was listening all that well. But he got talked to immediately that day, and it was like a whole thing. Did they call you, or I don't know?
No, Adonis came home and told me, and I called them.
Yeah, so my mom called them or whatever, because the way my brother had explained it, this teacher had come up to him in a very, very mean demeanor, kind of putting him down a little bit. And I just think that's so funny because, again, my brother was racially bullied 2 years ago by this white student who, at the time, they were 8 years old. And this white student just kept calling multiple brown students like apes and gorillas and the N-word, and said we should bring slavery back, and just these absolutely horrible things an 8-year-old should not even know. But nothing happened to that student. My brother got into a physical altercation with this student because that student attacked my brother's friend during recess. So my brother jumped in to help his friend. 8 years old, this is literally happening. And the teachers and the office people were saying that they would suspend my brother for fighting. I don't know if they even asked what the fight was about or what was going on. I guess they just saw multiple Black students getting in a scuffle with this one white student, and I don't know what they were thinking. The school is predominantly filled with white teachers and white staff members, so do with that information that you will. But it also turns out that this same student 2 years later is now bullying this poor little Black girl. I feel so bad for her. He called her the N-word, he pulled her hair. He's basically doing the same things he was doing to my brother 2 years later. Like, he's still at this school, didn't get expelled or suspended, or literally nothing happened to him. And this little girl told my brother that. And so my brother walked her to the office and told one of the office members, and the lady was like, I can't do anything about that. You have to tell your teacher. nothing's come about it, nothing's happened. My mom eventually was like, get this girl's like mother's number so we can talk about it, because it's the same student who was doing this 2 years ago. My mom and dad eventually had a meeting 2 years ago with the school board, the district, the people, about the situation. They know about it. Again, nothing was done, which is very unfortunate for every other Black person this child will come in contact with when he's older. Hopefully high school or middle school changes him. I don't know what high school or middle school he's gonna go to, but it's not gonna fly. Like, these children are kids, so they're probably not gonna be as vulgar or violent as some of the high schoolers are gonna be. We'll just see how his life pans out. I don't know. But when Serenity had said, keep track of what's going on, yes, I 100% agree with that. My mom was going back and forth with the teacher when this was happening 2 years ago through a classroom app for teachers and parents or whatever. And they had discussed it. They knew it was happening. Like, everything was said within those messages. And then my mom went to go look back at those messages and they were deleted. They were all gone. There was no proof or evidence that this situation had even happened, except luckily my mom had emailed the principal.
Right.
My mom had emailed the principal through her own email account. And that's the only proof we have of any of this happening. Which, I mean, you just have to think, like, someone had to go through that app system, delete these messages, and then act like nothing happened. So definitely, whether you're writing it down, you're screenshotting it, it's in your emails, it's in your text, like, keep your own track, because these schools are not going to. Even when they have it, they're not going to do that. So, and advocating for yourself. I think your mom said it, Tiffany, I think she said it. My brother is unfortunately, he's such a good advocate for himself. He's always standing up for himself. And when they had the little Fortnite shirt incident, or was it that? I don't know, it might've been something else. I don't know, but he had brought up that it might've been I think it was when he got hit. Some kid snatched his chain at recess one of these days. And it obviously really upset my brother, and he started crying and everything. And then the teachers got involved, and like, him and my mom had a meeting about what they were going to do to go forward from it. And they told Adonis, like, report it. Like, you should just report it to the nearest adult or the staff or whoever's there. And Adonis literally said, like, I'm not going to do that because I've reported stuff to you guys multiple times and nothing's been done about it. So, like, how do you expect these children to even feel safe coming to school? Like, like, all my friends were at school. I used to love going to school. Like, I wasn't bullied. I was bullied for, like, my features and how I looked. I wasn't bullied for my skin. And for my brother to sit here, like, he loves being Black. He wishes he was darker. Like, he absolutely loves the Black culture in him. And so for him to be just like teeter down with everything that's going on, like, it is just, like, this is like my son. I don't care. Like, this is the child I did not give birth to. And I just feel so horrible just watching him and hearing all the stories. And every day it's something different. And it's just like, why? So what I think, a solution, I don't know how to go about it, but I would love for everyone here, and if we can get more people, to bring awareness to, like, directly to the school boards, to however that happens, because I know there's a bunch of different districts within each, county or whatever, but I would just love to bring it up to them. Like, first of all, we need to do something to encourage Black people to be teachers and counselors and within the office, or you guys just need to hire more. Because if they are applying and you're just not hiring, that's a problem within your system. But we need to do something to change that as well. I don't know what it could be. Obviously, it's something that has to be implemented when they're younger to want to go on and to be a teacher for these underrepresented positions at these schools. And to also just, like, let's teach more about Black history, because we have a whole month. We have the shortest month of the year. We have all of February. And last year, I mean, it's just every year. Like my brother's teacher said something about it one day, did not bring it up the rest of the month, didn't really even acknowledge it. I remember being in, I think I was in like 7th grade. It was Black History Month, and like usually our schools are like, they go all out for St. Patrick's Day or Valentine's Day or whatever. There was nothing in the halls, like no teachers were bringing it up. There might have been like a Martin Luther King assembly or something, but that was it. That's all we get is an assembly, and everything's just supposed to be fine after that. So I brought it up to the principal and I was like, why are there's no decorations, there's no like music playing, like there's nothing special going on. And he was like, oh yeah, okay. And they made like a tiny little board that said Black History Month. And I think there was a picture of Martin Luther King on there. And that was what I got for 7th grade. And I just, like at the time, even though I had said something, I didn't really think too much of it. But just looking back, it's like why? Like Black people have invented so much, and Black people do so much. We could have like just a whole, like instead of American history, it's just African history, Black history, whatever that may sound or look like. We could literally have our own elective on it or just an extra curriculum. But I just think that just specifically for the month of February, a teacher could take a half hour out of their learning lesson and teach you something different every day, because there's so much information to just be learned out there. And again, I don't know how we would go about this or how I would go about this, but I just want every school district to hear and listen and understand like what we're going through and what it is to be a Black student within these. And even I went to Mariner, it's a very diverse school. There are more colored teachers within that area, but every other school, I mean, at least from what I've seen, like it's just a bunch of white teachers, and it's just like you don't understand how we feel, you don't understand what we're going through. It would just be nice to have more representation and more just awareness of what's going on, because like it's stressful just having to continue to listen to every day something different, what my brother's going through, what a teacher said, what another's like. It's so yeah, I am done. If anyone has, Tiffany, it looks like you have something to say. If anyone else has anything to say, feel free.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of add a little bit to that whole conversation on Black history and teaching more about it during Black History Month. I think that American history itself needs to be reviewed and rewritten, because it is being displayed as factual history, and it's leaving out inventors and patents and things that were discovered by people of color that white people took credit for. And that's being taught to all of us. And so it needs to actually be changed. I mean, even representation in Westerns, they use white people to tell Black people's stories about everything. So it's more than let's just have a month. Let's correct how American history was actually being taught, period, all the time. That's all I wanted to add.
I 100% agree with that. They're gonna have to rewrite some of these textbooks. They're gonna have to, it's gonna be a lot of money. It's gonna be worth it though, because why are you even teaching history the way it's taught? Like you're taught Christopher Columbus is this great man who discovered America. Literally, no. I learned so much after high school, and I'm just like flabbergasted by what they literally brainwashed us with. And I'm just like disappointed, because I feel so uneducated when people talk about something and I'm like, huh, like what, when did that happen? So like it needs to start in kindergarten. I don't care. Like children learn early. Children, especially children of color, they know when they've experienced something that has to do with their skin color and it sits with them, they know. And because I think my mom has this coworker, and when he was 5, I believe they came over from, where'd they come from?
Guatemala.
They came over from Guatemala, and they went to a barber shop, and the barber would not take them because they were Guatemalan. And he was 5. That was his first experience with racism. And he understood, like, they're not going to take us because I'm Guatemalan. So we need to, I don't know who's going to do it. Someone needs to rewrite these books and make a little children's edition, because it starts early and we need to start getting up on it. Because I can't keep teaching my brother. My mom can't keep teaching my brother. My dad can't keep saying stuff. Like, it needs to be everybody. And it doesn't, like, some states don't want to teach critical race theory because it makes white people or white kids feel bad about what happened. And I'm like, no, I don't think it would, because it's just teaching what actually happened. You don't have to feel any type of way about it. It's just what it is, you know? But yeah. Anyone else has something to say?
In the chat, there's been a few things. Margaret said, Mariner and other local high schools need pay nationally. Is that what it said? Yeah. Yeah. Certified teachers extra funds to keep the strongest, most qualified teachers at the school. It's paid by the federal government. So yeah, that's what I noticed with a lot of things when people say like where changes are going to happen. It always seems to come from the top down. So I think that's where we need to see a lot of the change, is like with funding, like how can we fund all of these things? And Taitiana, with like what you were saying, I think it really points to the issue of equity over equality, because equity means making sure this Black student is at the same level as this white student, no matter what that means, where equality means treating these students exactly the same, which that doesn't always work, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think you really touched on that. And then also in the chat, Marquardt said, Mike Simmons is on the Mukilteo School Board and is very receptive to these conversations. He came last week to the Black Lives Matter meeting at Mariner. So she said, email him if you're in that school district. That's a good contact. And then my auntie Danny said, A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn. Yes, I read that in AP English. That's actually really good. That's where in junior year in high school was the first time I found out about Columbus, and I was just shocked. I was like, what? This man did like all of this? So yeah, that one is really good. Let's see. Yeah, I wish that one was like a requirement for like all high schoolers to read, because that's like, it really lays out like the history. And it's like what everyone says, history is only the winner's perspective. Like, you know, you're not going to see all perspectives. I wrote down a few notes while Taitiana was talking, because that's the only way I can remember what I want to say. But yeah, speaking of like making a difference with like, you know, teaching more things. I know Mariner adopted like a civics type of class. So that's a good option if you are in that area, like having those type of classes where you can actually talk about these issues is really important, because like my mom said, a month isn't enough. So if you really take like a class that goes in depth, that's really good. Right now, I'm actually adding an Africana minor to my to my major in college. So that's where I'm going to learn a lot, because I honestly, as a Black person, don't know a lot either. Like I like Taitiana said, I get surprised and I'm just like, whoa, this is a part of my history and I've never known about it until I'm in college paying to take a class to teach me about these specific issues, you know? So yeah, I feel like incorporating it more with education is good. But speaking on that topic, I did have some people tell me that a teacher at Mariner, when they did decide to do more for Black history, they were reading some literature and they felt the need to say the N-word because they felt like it made it more realistic. So I feel like when you do decide to incorporate more into your classes, you really, there needs to be like a structure of like how that's going to be, you know, gone about, because obviously a Black student sitting in class hearing their teacher say they need to use the N-word in the literature to make it more realistic, and just hearing that come out of their mouths over and over again, that can be really traumatizing. So like before people decide to like just start teaching, like, you know, make sure they actually know what they're, you know, talking about and all that before going in. Also, going back to like some solutions, one thing that I forgot to mention was with the security guards that do exist, like in school systems, I feel like it's good to have like a good relationship between the security guards and the students. I've seen that demonstrated at Mariner with Ainsley, for example. He talks to all the students. He asks, how are you doing? He like checks in on them. He gets on their head if they're, goofing off and not like in school as much. So I feel like having a good relationship with the security guards is an important step too, so that, Black students aren't just like terrified of the security guard all the time. And that's the only way that you're going to be able to rebuild that kind of broken relationship with Black students and like security guards, at least in school, So yeah, I feel like that's also another important solution. Did anybody else want to add to Taitiana's topic?
I just want to reiterate that you have to vote local. Everyone only votes the big votes, but local, your school board, people never vote for the school board. That's where the change happens, because you can have a problem with the principal. Nobody cares if the school board is backing the principal. So make sure that you guys vote for your local legislation and your local school boards and your counties and your cities, because that matters, because those are the people that are going to affect what's happening to you and your children.
Yes, I agree. And I'll be looking more into that, because honestly, I don't think we really voted for school board stuff.
We do.
We
vote every
do.
single election.
We do. I don't know, but I forgot to add on to this. I swore I had written it down, but I guess I didn't, but I'm gonna read it from here. About the school to prison pipeline, sorry for retracting, but I think it's just very interesting because it says, according to a 2015 report from the National Center for Education Statistics, there are more than 43,000 school resource officers and other sworn police officers, and an additional 39,000 security guards working in the nation's 84,000 public schools. You don't have a calculator, I also had to do the math. That's 82,000 officers, security guards, policing within 84,000 schools. And it says, since when did school discipline require so many police and security officers? And I think that is a very interesting question, because it doesn't. And you really don't need to sit here and like students will literally get arrested on campus. I've seen it happen. I'm pretty sure it happened when my sister was going to Mariner. They're kids, they're literal children. Like, I feel like there's a better way than putting them in handcuffs or detaining them or restraining them or doing whatever like adults, if they're getting in trouble, would handle this situation. Sorry, I just forgot to put that in there. I just wanted to mention it now. But yeah, anyway, if anyone else has literally anything else to say about basically me and Renice's topic, racism within the school systems and how we can help with that, you can either we'll chit chat it down or say something. If not, we will be moving on to Serenity, who will be talking about Black men degrading Black women. I'm very interested in this, so please.
I was gonna say, when you said like your brother is your kid, I felt that in my soul, because like I'm the oldest, and it just bothers me that I know my siblings are gonna go through, like something's gonna happen where like, oh, this is how it is, especially because they're in Washington. And it just like, it really bothers me, because I'd be ready to fight, like just like my mom, and it doesn't sit right with me. My mom and I usually have to go to my grandma and talk about like what's the right way to deal with things. But honestly, because you can try to be nice, but it's like, no, I don't, because it's almost like when you're nice and passive, people don't get it, or they don't want to hear you, and they don't really take action. And I'm just not ready for that. But
and people also say,
like,
oh, sorry, I was just gonna add real quick, because I feel like people also are like, why are Black people so mean about it? Why are they so mad? But it's like we go
That's
through this
my
every
exactly.
generation. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like you guys said, I feel the same about my brother. And that's why I even brought this topic, because I'm over here ready to fight first time every time too.
Exactly.
And it's like, no, we can't be nice every time when this is our life 24/7.
Exactly. Yeah. But, and I was gonna, oh my gosh, because that just gets me, I don't know, I don't like that. But I was gonna say, we're talking about security guards and police in school. Like, no one can convince me that having security guards and security guards having guns doesn't like create more violence. Because when you see stuff that is there to, I mean, how do I say it? Like, because of course you should have like security just in case things happen, but putting more and more is like, okay, they expect violence to happen. So like, I feel like more guns equals more violence to me. But and I was also going to backtrack a little bit because I know you talked about Rainy, she talked about like the systems being like institutional, which is very true. And it made me think about the situation that happened with Mariner. You remember when the dance team went to Marysville to show their dance, and then the principal had sent out an email apologizing because of the Black Lives Matter and stuff. And it's like, because how do you expect to fix those issues when the authority figures are the ones that are sending out emails apologizing for people saying names of people that passed away? Like, how is that? For one, how can you, why are you bothered by people saying names of people that passed? Like, why does that hurt you? Why did the people at the assembly feel like intimidated or whatever? Because to me, it's like, then what are you thinking that makes you feel intimidated, where that bothers you? But it's really like, yeah, how can you fight past that when those type of issues have to be constantly taken to like higher ground to even be noticed? Because had nobody said anything, like Mr. Pena, I knew he wasn't gonna let that slide. Like, exactly, like if nobody would have said anything, the email probably would have been unnoticed. But no, that's absolutely not okay.
Yeah, thank you so much. Speaking of that, I was gonna say too, an important point that I never thought of that someone brought up to me is that if Black people never move into these areas, like these super whitewashed areas that we don't want to be at, the sad thing is they never experience like that different culture. So a lot of the time what I find here is that people who grew up like born and raised on the East Side, they're very just unaware. Like they'll say stuff and they don't even realize. They're just like, they have no clue. And I'm just starting to realize that, yeah, it does make sense that that's why, you know, Black people need to be a part of these issues and, you know, be in the area and introduce that diversity to them. But it's also not our job, you know, so it's always, you know, other people's job to do the research and everything. But yeah, I do feel like it's important that, you know, Black people do, or the Black people that are in these areas, you know, continue to like speak up and show that diversity, because otherwise a lot of these areas, they're just all white. That's all they know. They're uneducated on a lot of stuff. Like, I don't want to even tell you guys how many Spokane natives I've met, or I'm just like, that's what you think? Like, you don't see that as being problematic at all. So I don't know. I guess I'm blessed to have grown up on the West Side. But yeah, so I just wanted to bring that point up too. Taitiana got her hand up.
Yeah, to come a little bit back, I think Serenity had also brought it up when Rainice was talking, that you basically have to like push the schools, like repetitively report, I guess, in order for them to even do anything about it. Because like I said, like when my mom was going back and forth with the teacher about what was happening 2 years ago, like literally not like it just, nothing kept being done about it until my mom emailed the principal and brought it up and was like, yo, like, obviously this isn't gonna fly. Like, my son's not about to sit here and be terrorized every day he goes to school. Like, you know, what are we gonna do about this? And then they had the little meeting or whatever, which apparently came of nothing because the child is still within the same school doing the same thing. But just feel like another solution, I guess, is just to like, I mean, if you do have any brothers or sisters, or if you are a parent or an aunt or whatever you are, and you have someone within the school, just be heard, be known, come to the schools. Honestly, like, I don't know if it's even legal because I know schools are like private property, I think, or something like that. But I'm about to come marching down with some signs. Like, I'm about to have a blowhorn. Like, I'm ready to hoot and holler because you're not about to sit here. Like, you're not about to sit here and treat my brother like this. And I'm not about to sit here and hear about other kids being treated like this too. Like, I've worked with children and like, just in general, like, I just feel like very motherly sometimes. And even if it's not my brother, like, it's still another student. It's still someone else's kid. It's some, like, that child has a life ahead of itself. So like, I don't, again, I'm gonna look into Mike Simmons and see what he's all about, because if by any chance, like, I can just be heard and have them understand. I mean, like everyone said, like, you have to go through high authority to even be heard or taken seriously, which, I mean, again, my mom did talk to the school board and still nothing happened. But like, I'm like getting stressed out just thinking about what's like, how I can even, because I just want change now. And I just like want it to be right now. And I know it's going to take a few years, generations, it's going to take a while. I know we're going to reach a point where we're not Black people, we're just people and human beings on the earth. And it's not going to be a thing, but we're just not there right now. And I just, like, I'm ready to blow up the school. Like, come on. Because Big Sis hasn't gone to school yet. And I wonder why, because I'm not, me and my mom, not us. So yeah, but anyway, if anyone else has anything to add on, please feel free to do so. If not, Serenity, I am here for you.
Nobody else has anything to say. You don't know me, my name is Serenity. I go to Clark Atlanta University. I'm a psychology major. And I wanted to talk about this topic because it's kind of Black men degrading. It is Black men degrading Black women, but it's also like, okay, that's what it is. Because it has to do with like dating, like how they treat Black women outside of dating, even stuff like that. So from my personal experience, they're mostly from, I feel like mostly out in Georgia or Atlanta. It's more so colorism than it is like blatant, you know, I mean, like Black men more so going towards lighter skinned women, which I also feel like has to do, it's definitely under racism, because like going for lighter skinned women is the equivalent of like trying to go to a lighter version of a woman, you get what I'm saying? Which eventually would lead to a white woman, which is not a problem. I just want to make it clear that I have no problem with who anybody chooses to date. My only problem is with when you have these reasons, it's because I don't date Black women or I don't date Black men because, and then a stereotypical answer. Because at the end of the day, you're gonna like who you like, and nobody should come in between that, really. It has nothing to do with how you look and stuff like that. But personal experience, I remember one time I used to work at Popeyes. I worked there for a while, and there's this guy I used to work with, and he was talking to me, and he was like, "Oh, what do you want your kids to look like?" And I was like confused because my kids are gonna look like how they look whenever they come here. And he was like, "Oh, I want my kids to be light skinned because dark skins are ugly." And he said that straight out, like blatant. And I was like, like, and he didn't see anything wrong with that statement at all. Because I was waiting for like a comeback, like say something different. No, it never came. And It's just like, that's really disappointing, because if he's seeking women that are not dark skinned because he wants to control what he wants his kids to look like, rather than just loving his kids the way that they are, the way that they come. And I think that's the problem with a lot of these issues. But then I found this article from 2016. It was from like Oprah, and she had talked to it says 3 Black men explain why they don't date Black women. And it says, this guy, Michael, said, no. He said, I've been practicing abstinence for 3 years with no sex. I'm looking for someone that can respect my views on this, someone that can love me for me. So that was his reason. Another guy, Bo, says, I don't date Black women now because of past experiences. They like to place that strong personality on you. And sometimes you just kind of like, stay in a woman's place. And then it says all 3 men dig deeper into how these preferences formed. Bo says that he learned from his mother to avoid angry women. Michael says his artistry and music have caused Black women in his family and neighborhood to think that he's weird, quote unquote. And Coro says that God-fearing ways have been a turnoff for Black women he's come across. Yeah, that's what I came across. And I don't know, it's kind of, because I have a stance on it, but I didn't really have like a argument, because I just wanted to hear other people's thoughts on it. I feel like when it comes to like Black women and Black men, rather than, I think we see each other as like one person, kind of like there's only one way for a Black woman to act, to be. And going to HBCUs has helped me, because there's like all types, just like we're people, there's all different types of people, all different types of individuals. Just because we're the same color doesn't mean we have the same likes, the same wants, the same needs, the same goals, anything like that. And it's frustrating, and it's kind of sad to see that people will have reasons that to not date a certain race because of what they see the entire race as, rather than one individual that they came across. And what was it? Yeah, I just feel like yeah, I haven't gotten over what that guy said to me, because my mom is dark skinned, and I've always liked, she's beautiful to me. I never thought about her color or whatever. Like, I don't know. I just feel like those type of thoughts, and like Rainice, when you said like that's how you think, it just drives me insane. Like, I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on it?
I'll speak up real quick. We actually just talked about this topic at Black Student Union, so it's kind of crazy. Just talking about interracial relationships, and going along with that, like how Black men a lot of the time do degrade Black women, and they always use that excuse like, oh, they're just too loud, they got too much attitude. And I don't know, I feel like as a Black man, if you can say that you won't date a Black woman because of this, or this, I think that's a reflection of how you feel about yourself. My brother, for a while when he was younger, that was his thing. Oh, Black girls are ugly, blah, blah, blah. Once he grew up, he was like, oh, okay, I see now. He understood, but like, yeah, it's just really sad to me, because it shows like your mom is Black, like your aunts are Black. How can you say that like you would never consider talking to a Black woman because of these stereotypical, one, and two, like, I don't know. I personally, like I said, I feel a deeper connection with a person of color, like, because I know they understand like everything I've been through and all of this. So yeah, I don't know, that issue I feel like is really common, and it's sad that a lot of the time we do see, the Black men that are supposed to like hold us up, degrading us. And yeah, that's all I was gonna say on it. Taitiana, you got your hand up.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting topic to just in general, because I mean, it is like, yeah, your mom is Black, like you've got Black family members, and yet you don't want to, I guess, expand on that or bring more into the world because either of your experiences. I mean, even stuff people see on TV, like Black women are portrayed as loud, ghetto, angry, hoochie mamas, prostitutes, drug addicts, like, and who wants to deal with that? I mean, I get that, but that's not real. That's just what Hollywood, for whatever reason, sees us as. And I mean, yeah, there are some girls that like do the most and are, all up in everyone's business. But again, that is not all of us. That is not everybody. That you can't just say, oh, because my sister fights, I'm gonna fight too. Like I'm just gonna pop off whenever I can. Like, no, she's a little angry. Like that's not her problem. Maybe she's been through some stuff. Like ask her that. Like what makes her react this way instead of just looking at her reaction. And I mean, that's why I'm very thankful that I was able to find a colored man to be my future husband, because it's just, we do relate on so much. And like a few years ago before, I think it had to have been in 2016, because it was like right before Trump got voted in. We were at Walmart and it was so weird. Like I was driving through like where the people cross from the entrance, and I was just driving. And this guy like came up and tapped my back window as if I had gotten too close, like I was gonna hit him or something, which I wasn't if he had to run up to the back window and do it. But my fiance like got out of the car and he was like, yo, don't touch our window, like don't do that, blah, blah, blah. And the dude like something, he said, you'll see when Trump wins. And I was like, okay, we need to get back in the car and we need to go home. Because we lived out in like Stanwood, Smoky Point, and we were at the Walmart in Marysville, of course. And I was just like, oh my God, like I'm nervous now. Like I want to go home. I don't even want to go in the store. Like, I don't know who else is in there. And it's just like words hurt, first of all, but also it's just like, I genuinely lost my train of thought as I was opening my mouth. I'm so sorry. But I wrote down in my notes while you were talking about like how men don't want to be with like strong-willed women or like women who are aggressive or whatever. Like that just makes me think men want weak women. And I don't know what that means to you. I don't know. But to me, it's just a woman who, and there are like dom and subs and like that whole category of stuff, like women who do like will be submissive and like, want to do all that. But there are so many independent women and men just cannot handle it. And like, why? I mean, I just feel like I don't know. I was raised by, my mom was always the breadwinner. She's a very independent woman. She does not need a man. She wants a man. She doesn't need you, but she does want little cuddles at night. But I mean, and men probably look at her because she is the only woman in her meetings at work. She's in a very high position at her job. And it's very intimidating. And I mean, like she said, she is the Beyonce of her department, because like people, they're like, oh, Deborah's in here, like, kind of gotta be on your best behavior because she will call you out. And I mean, I think men are just intimidated by that because they want to wear the pants in the relationship and they want to do all this. And Black women are portrayed as strong women, and that's like a thing we don't want. And I really genuinely don't get that. And I do get the whole colorism thing too. Like they want a light-skinned girl over a black-skinned girl or a dark-skinned girl, which is so funny because I feel like a lot of the light skins that I meet have like more attitude than some of the darker girls. And I'm just like, just because I don't look nice, and I don't know how light skins look to other people. I just look at myself as a Black girl. But I guess we look this type of way, and I've met light skins who act how dark skins are supposed to act, which I mean, like that whole saying, it's just like white women act out too. So I don't understand why it's only put on Black women. Like there are Karens and there are these white women who are like, some of them are very strong and they like advocate for themselves and they're like doing what they need to do. And like, you're not going to tell me this or that. Like there are white women out there. My best friend's mom is a judge. She's judge. Her last name is Judge. She's literally living it up. She's a very strong woman. She's in a very powerful position. And her husband, I mean, I'm sure he loves it because she's a judge, bringing in a lot of money. But like, it's just, there are white women who are just like that too. So why is it only put on Black women that it's all of a sudden a problem that we want to be the same? Like, I don't get it. But yeah.
I think it's really the fact that we hold them accountable. So like, you don't want someone that holds you accountable, just say that. Don't blame it on the whole race of women. But also what we were talking about in BSU was like a lot of the time these Black men are fetishizing Latinas, and Latinas are like, you know, they're loud, they, you know, all of us are. So it's just like, it's so crazy to me. And it kind of, that's what else I wanted to touch on what you were saying, Serenity, how like he was saying about what he wanted his kids to look like. I find that happens a lot, that fetishizing of like Black people, but you only want certain Black people type of thing. And like, yeah, I've met certain people that I'm sure they don't even know that they're doing that, but they are fetishizing over Black men. And it happens a lot. And I think Black men also fetishize over, you know, whiter women, lighter women. I definitely know that there's a privilege of being a lighter skinned woman because of that colorism that happens, you know, in the Black culture. So yeah, for sure. I just wanted to make sure I touched on that point of the fetishization of people, because that's super common, especially now that being Black is cool and in trend. You see that a lot more. And then we got 2 hand raises. Mom, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to, you know, just touch a little bit. I mean, Serenity actually said it herself too. Yeah, people like who they like. So, you know, part of that is, yeah, we can't tell people that you can't like that person because they're a different color. That's fine. I get that. But also being a light-skinned person myself, I feel like I definitely can see patterns in the community. And so I don't want to like generalize every Black man, but there are patterns. And really, I mean, they stem very, 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 very deep in our culture. I mean, if you talk about them not wanting the strong-minded, strong-willed female, that was created because of the institutionalization of Black men. Women had to raise their children and be mother and father and provider for everyone, and not have safe healthcare, not feel safe to take their kids anywhere. So historically, they've had to be stronger and have reason to be stronger and angry. Even in today's world, still reason to be angry, because they are the least valued life in America today. Under every other sex, race, least valued life, Black women. So they have, I think Black men have kind of seen this, and they've seen it in Hollywood, and they've seen it, you know, all over the television. White is beautiful. So now let's conquer that. If that's like success, the light-skinned woman looks like success to them, because what they're seeing being portrayed as success in media, in politics, in Hollywood, in life in general, even historically, if you could conquer a white woman, now you've stuck it to the man, right? So there's not one real answer for it, right? There's a whole plethora of things that go into what creates that circumstance for that individual person. Some of it is self-hate. I look at dark skinned women and think, man, that's beautiful. But not everybody does. And that's not necessarily mine to tell that person that they should feel that way, because I mean, I may look at someone that looks, you know, the same color, but still think that they're not good looking either. You know what I mean? So I think that there's definitely some deeper roots in the colorism, and a lot of it is because of the situation that Black women were put in when men were just being incarcerated, still are being incarcerated, but Jim Crow laws made that even more prevalent back then. And so now they've gotten this bad bag, right? And then you have all of this explosion of Hollywood, social media saying light skin is what beauty is, and that's how you pass, right? And they buy into that because they have self-hate also.
Mom, was that it? Or
That's it.
oh, okay, because I didn't know if you were done or not because it just kind of got quiet. But yeah, thank you so much. I feel like all those points are super important. And like Serenity was saying, yeah, and like you were saying, Mom, you like what you like, but when it becomes problematic is when you're, reinforcing those stereotypes or degrading, Black women because this, and this. And actually, one guy in BSU had said like he saw some study and 80% of Black men actually do go for Black women. But he was saying that when there are those, men that are degrading and saying, these stereotypical things, there's not a lot of voice from those Black men that aren't a part of that group. You don't hear them speaking out and being like, hey, that's not okay, You don't hear that voice of like the Black men that aren't a part of this issue, I guess, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I definitely think that needs to be a part of the change too, is like, so you're saying you're not one of those Black guys that do that. Okay, then what are you gonna do about it? How are you gonna speak out about it? And then Rachel got her hand up.
Yes, I wanted to talk about what I noticed, how those things really start to get rolling. Just as a woman and my family, they would always make, little jokes about women and stuff like that. Or my dad, especially, he grew up in Alabama, so this sort of stuff was funny to him, talking about people who wore hijabs and he's racist, so at first I'm like, oh, haha, that's funny, and I laugh at it, and then in my head I laugh at it, so therefore it's funny. And then as time goes on, I since I'm a woman, I am the butt of those jokes, and so it's just it came to a point where somebody, I think it was my twin brother, he made a joke. And I just felt so disgusted with myself that I had to remove myself from the group of boys because they didn't have a female body, so they weren't disgusting as I was. And I just years later, I realized that I had that thought, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is wrong. This is wrong. They're in the wrong. Their jokes aren't funny. And it's I'm sure just everything that starts like that, it's like a joke. And oh, it's funny, until it becomes reality. And it's those microaggressions, they really start to add up. And as a kid, you don't really realize why you're so angry at those jokes, but you laugh at it, and then because you laugh at it, because you're the butt of those jokes and you laugh at it, somebody else thinks it's okay. And I feel that's definitely what happens. It's obviously started way too many years ago, but now it's it's continued on every generation by fathers who make their jokes and by their brothers and their sisters who laugh at them, and it just kind of continues on like that. And I was writing about this a while ago, and I couldn't really even figure out a solution to except just be hey, that did not make me feel good about myself. You made me feel like shit. And that's the problem, that it's when I do that, it's maybe they'll be oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize. But most of the time they're just gonna run away. You're like, oh, fuck you, ah. And then they feel bad for you making them feel bad, and then they run away. And it's okay, now I can't do anything because it's their choice to make that decision. Okay. I'm done.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Yeah, I think a good point you brought up, and for all these issues, is just actually saying something does make a difference. Like I always say, silence is compliance with a lot of things. And as Black people, it's our choice to be like, okay, I'm going to speak up, or I don't have the energy to speak up today. But I personally feel the need to speak up every time, and I don't care. I will be that annoying person because I'm just like, I see what happens when you leave stuff, you know, if you leave stuff, then like you said, that person thinks, okay, it's fine then, I'm gonna just keep doing it. Like same with the N-word. Oh, my friend let me say it. All right, I'm gonna say it in every sentence now. And I don't ever want it to get to that point. So it will never get to that point on my watch. And it is frustrating because you don't know how someone's gonna take it. You don't know if they're gonna be like, oh shoot, that is wrong, or if they're just gonna be like, I don't care. But like I said, it's better to try, I feel like, to like say something than to not say anything at all. And I feel like even with like, you know, Serenity, your issue that you brought up, like continuing to call out Black men that are behaving in this way that's not okay is super important. Even if it makes them think, see, this is why I don't talk to Black girls. I'm like, okay, like at least you're educated now and you don't talk to Black girls. Like, I don't care. Like, and I'm sorry, don't ever tell me you don't like a dark-skinned girl because she's ugly, because I can name many beautiful freaking chocolatey brown women out there. Like one of my women crushes, Gabrielle Union. I'm just like, you can't tell me she's ugly. I don't care. Like, what you cannot tell me she's ugly. Like, I'm sorry. But yeah, that's all I was gonna say. So yeah, thank you so much for bringing that point, Rachel. And then Taitiana.
Yeah, kind of going back to a few of the things that have been said. More so right this second, going back to Black men degrading Black women. My mom have you seen it? You've seen it?
Like
Multiple times. My mom has seen this documentary on Amazon. It's called Unseen, and I'll put it in the chat after I'm done, just so in case you, I don't know, just so you remember. But it's basically about this Black man who was like serial killing all these Black women in Cleveland.
Yeah.
But no one cared because it was Black women who were dying. And I've never seen it. I'm going to see it. It sounds very interesting. There was also, I don't, it was going around on Facebook. I don't know if it was like actually real, but this white man, which I know this has nothing to do with Black men, I guess, but just kind of on the topic of, but this white man was, I believe he had AIDS, and he was going around and sleeping with a bunch of Black women, giving them AIDS, which is great. And it's just like, we're just so looked at so bottom of the barrel, or at least dark skinned women are looked at so bottom of the barrel. And it is just so frustrating and irritating. And then going back to speaking up, basically, within my mom's whole branch, or not even branch, just like all of them, the whole company, there's a bunch of racist people, unfortunately, within just specifically within the Washington branch, most of, if not all of Spokane, the branch over there, like they are just super like conservative Republican, like don't want to, you know, they don't even want to be a part of the, is it DEI? For the diversity, equity, inclusion group that one of the black, because there's like 5 Black women started within the company. They don't even want to be a part of it. They don't want to have anything to do with it. But there's this one specific woman, and I'm not going to say her name, but she's just bland, and she lives in North Everett, but she had the Confederate flag in the back of her background. And my mom immediately was like, nope, like we're not doing that here. Like you need to take that down. That is very offensive. And the woman was like, stupid people will say it's racist. And my mom's like, well, I guess I'm a stupid person because it literally is. And it's not Southern pride or heritage or whatever they're trying to say that it is. It's literally just history. It's not. But my mom spoke up, and the higher up of my mom she talked to the woman, and the woman had to take it down. And now it's no longer in the background of her videos because, you know, they all work from home now or whatever. And like multiple times this woman or even other people will just say like microaggressions or something that's very just stereotypical or something. And my mom is always the only one to speak up because my mom is half Mexican. She does not look it. She looks, like I've said before, she's a pink white woman. She's very, especially with the haircut I just gave her, she looks like a Karen. I love you, but no offense. But it's just like they think they have this pass to be able to say whatever they want within this group because, oh, we're all white. Like, we get it. You know, there's, I mean, they're just going to say racist stuff because they don't think you're going to say anything about it because you're not Black or you're not this or you're not that. So when she does speak up, I mean, I'm sure they're kind of taken aback. And like, she's the only one that is speaking up is the problem. So for the Confederate flag thing, like multiple people said something about it. Multiple people said something about it, and then the flag got taken down. But there's been, and I think she actually got someone else fired for, she's gotten someone fired for saying something. But it's just most of the time when you're the only person speaking up, it's just eventually your voice is just kind of gonna get filtered out through everything else that's being said. And like, we do need to speak up because I see like on my Facebook, at least, like when Black men do start saying degrading stuff about Black women, like there's this one particular woman, her name, I think it's Danae. I've never met her in real life, but she's always like, you need to stop saying this. Like, this isn't fair. Like, you're just going off stereotypes or whatever you see, blah, blah, blah. Like, she's always advocating for all Black women. And we all need to start doing it because just because I say something doesn't mean anything's going to happen about it. But if we get 10 other women and Black men to start speaking up too, like, it's going to be heard. The same exact thing with the BLM movement that happened in 2020. We were global. We got everyone involved. And it was a trend apparently, but it was a huge thing and it was on the news and it got people talking and thinking about, you know, all the injustices that are going on. And I just, like, it's real. It happens. It is still here. Like, we all need to say something when Black men, because there are, like everyone has said, there are preferences, and I understand that, but your preference does not need to shun down me and my people. Because why? Like, I don't really necessarily like white men, like, attractively, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't be friends with them, or I'm gonna say like, oh, because they're this, they have daddy money, or like whatever. Like, it's just not what I want. But like, I'll be friends with you and I'm not gonna sit here and talk about you because that's just dumb. Like, so yes, let's all raise our voices because women can be loud. Like, Black women, let's be loud in a good way, and a way they're gonna hear us and wanna just at least think, like, just start getting the gears going, a little smoke coming out. Let's just, you know, get it rolling. But yeah, Serenity.
I was gonna say, I'm so tired of the whole like the Confederate flag isn't racist or it's the history. Like, I watched this, okay, because I'd be bored. I was on YouTube and I watched this like whole thing. There was like a debate at this school. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about. But like every time the kids that supported the Confederate flag try to make their point, they got one kid was trying to say that it stood for power, or, you know, he's like fighting back and not taking stuff, and then it stood for going against the North and them trying to take away their like fund or money and stuff. But where was the money coming from? Slavery. That's the point. That's what they were really arguing about. Like, that's the main thing. And every time you try to go around it and try to make it seem like it was something else, you always end up to money and cotton, which is what the enslaved people were doing in the first place. And also, I was gonna say, I feel like people that don't, like, not just Black men or just anybody in general, but like people that don't want to be held accountable hate being held accountable, and they hate people that will tell them stuff that they need to hear and not what they want to hear. And yes, like Rainey said, I will be that person to tell you, you're not going to do that around me, and that's not going to happen. And if that makes me an angry person, even though I will say it calmly, because there's no reason for me to get angry. You're just not about to say that around me. Then so be it. Because I feel like whoever I'm supposed to end up with, or the people that are supposed to be around me, is going to like the fact that I stand up for myself. I'm not going to scream at you every time I don't agree with something you say, but when I feel like it attacks my character, people around me's character that you don't know, and it's a stereotype, then yes, I'm going to say something. And going back to what your mom said, Renise, Tiffany, I really do feel like it goes by like each individual, because there's so many things that can happen in your childhood, your household, that can affect the way you are, like your personality and stuff. And just like how like Black men seeing their mom having to raise themselves, and maybe that going into how or why they don't want like a strong, independent woman. Young Black girls are being raised in households without fathers, so they don't know what to look for, and now they're upset and distrusting of any man that they come across. And so it's really either or. Like you have to get to know a person to really understand why they're acting the way they are. It's never, I really don't think it could be about race because of what systematically goes on. So you could be angry about whatever is happening in your community, but it has to do with yourself and how you're raised and what you're around. So I feel like, yeah, that was a really good point about just dealing with each individual as you go, and not expecting them to act a certain way because of whatever group you think they belong to.
Yeah, for sure. There's some things going on in the chat if you guys want to look at the chat. Yeah, I'm just so glad that all these points are brought up. I think the next Zoom is definitely going to be about colorism, because that's another big one that affects all of us, and going back to like the degrading of Black women, and like my mom said, they are the least valued life. I think also Black women degrading other Black women, it doesn't help the issue of, because you're getting it from Black men, but also a lot of Black women are, light skins are hating on darker skinned women are hating on lighter skinned women. And like, yeah, I feel like what really solves a lot of the issues is when we can come together as a community and like unite past our differences. And I'm talking about homophobia too, past all of that, and like really collectively make change and, decide what we need to do. Because I feel like that's why we have seen such slow progress a lot of the time, is because we're not collective, because we're so busy like calling each other out for these different things. But like, we forget in history where the most change was made is when there was collective action, everybody got together and like pushed for that change. So I think, yeah, Black women degrading Black women also is a big issue, on top of, Black men degrading Black women. Anybody else want to add on to either Serenity's or Taitiana's stuff that they said?
I just want to say, you made a good point that, collectively, and the problem I see today and, in the past, but especially today, everyone is about me. What is it going to change for me? What can I get? What is it going to mean to me? And we need to switch that to the we. And if we can do that, that's where you'll start to see real changes. If people can stop thinking about even people that aren't affected by any of this, so to speak, right? Everybody is, they just don't always realize it. If you can take just a moment to think outside of yourself, if we could all just do that, then we would just have so much more progress.
Yeah, I really believe that we need more empathy. We need more people like feeling for other people. I feel like I'm just like a super like overly empathetic person sometimes. But
My
like,
fault.
yeah, I feel like that's what we're missing a lot of the time is, okay, maybe this doesn't affect me. Like, I don't know what's going on in the, in the LGBTQ community, in the Hispanic community. It's not directly affecting me, but I know what it feels like to be marginalized. So I'm gonna speak up for them too. And, I feel like that's what a lot of people forget is that, like you're saying, it doesn't revolve all around you. Like, it's important to think about the bigger picture. And is this the type of world we really want to be living in? I'm always working for a world I want to see. Like, I'm not just going to be sitting here fine with how everything is. So yeah, any other topic or any other things to add? Oh, Katrina in the chat said lack of compassion for human life and rights outside of our own realm. Yeah. Anything else on Serenity's topic? Because if not, I think we're gonna wrap up and just end with talking about a documentary that we posted on our page, again, having to do with this type of broad topic of race. No. Okay, well, let's go ahead and discuss that documentary really quick before we wrap up. Taitiana, did you want to start on that?
Yeah, I don't know if anyone else in here besides Rainice was able to watch the documentary. But basically it was just about, there was a protest march in, it was May 31st, for George Floyd in Snohomish City. And I guess the mayor within that city called in the Proud Boys to, just see what's going on and provide security, which obviously we get it, but it was just different people sharing their experiences either within like the school districts or being a teacher or just seeing what was going on, just being in the protest itself. Multiple things, but one thing that like I've been thinking about is, and I don't remember her name, but she's darker than me, but she's still like brown skin, I guess. I don't really know like the categorization of all of them. It's called What Happened on First Street. But this girl, she was in the protest and she said she was like so tired just after being to like multiple of other protests and just screaming and yelling and, trying to get her voice heard and like everyone, collectively and everything. And she was holding, or these white women who were on the sidewalk as well were holding signs saying like all lives matter, white lives matter, blue lives matter. And the Black woman is on the street. These white women are also on the street, like kind of next to her. And then this car pulls up with more white women in it. And she said they like scowl at her and her mom. And then they kind of pull up a little further to the stop sign and they give a thumbs up to the white women who are just blatantly being racist. And I just think that is like, I don't even know like how I would react, but it's just like that is scary. First of all, it's sad. It's very threatening. Like, what do you mean my life doesn't matter? Like you are literally thumbsing up white lives matter, blue lives matter. And I get the whole like all lives matter thing, but all lives cannot matter until Black lives matter. And we're not saying like we're above you. I put Black people on like a high pedestal just because like I love Black people. I feel like we're just like nice and very accepting and like, some of us are. I know there are like being gay within the Black community is like a whole thing on its own, but just from the people that I've met, like most of my best friends are Black women and I love them. And, but I'm not saying that they're any better than my white best friend. Like, I don't think of them as a competition. I don't think of myself as any better than anyone else. So like, we're literally just trying to be equal. We're just trying to be heard. We're just trying to get you to understand what we've been going through since the beginning. And yeah, the whole documentary is just, I was choking back tears multiple times. It's very hard to hear these stories. It's very hard to see what these Black women and men are just going through within school. And it's a very good documentary. I don't know if it's on any like regular platforms. You did have to have like a ticket to be able to see the Zoom that it was on. But if it ever is airing again, I will obviously let you guys know. It is a very good documentary, and I do recommend it for everyone here. Rainice, what did you want to say about it?
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think it's important for people to watch because at the end of the day, that's in our backyard, you know, like for me, especially, I'm over here in Marysville, that's right next to Snohomish. And I went to actually a protest in Granite Falls where, again, very, very bad there too. And same thing, me and my mom saw like freaking looking like Proud Boys. I don't know if they were, but standing on the sides of the road with their arms crossed, just, and my mom was literally scared. She pulled me and she's like, don't even walk by them because you don't know what they're gonna do. Like, and it is sad that there is such, I feel like honestly, with Trump being president, a lot of racists felt comfortable to come out and they're really showing their true colors. And it's sad that even with something like George Floyd, you know, we see these people coming out when it's literally just a peaceful protest. This was all about a peaceful protest. And it's really just Black people begging for their lives. And we still have like this resistance and like Proud Boys. I mean, there's so many Proud Boys, even in Lake Stevens, where I'm like Lake Stevens, Marysville border area. So yeah, I found the documentary, I really liked it and I was not surprised by it at all because that's what I live through when I'm back home a lot of the time. So yeah, I think it's important that people hear these stories of Black lives because a lot of people, like we all said, it doesn't affect them, so they don't think it's going on. But when you really hear like personal stories of things people had to go through, sometimes that's what it takes for people to be like, oh, wow, like there's really people that do this. This is really happening. Like, yeah, this is really my life. So yeah, Katrina wanted to say something.
I was not able to watch the documentary, and that was mostly because I didn't know it existed until right now. Luckily, I turned on post notifications. So if it ever does air again, I'm watching it. But I raised my hand because my childhood best friend, I've known her since I was 5. Her name is Grace, and she lives in Snohomish, and she's lived in Snohomish since she was like 7 or so. She lives with her father alone, and they only moved there because Snohomish is where her dad politically felt comfortable. So we already know who we're looking at, like old racist white guy, right? And I remember her calling me, and I'm sure this is the event that the documentary happened about. And I have never, like, this girl's a crier, right? But I have never I've never heard somebody cry so like genuinely about the events that happened. And she was telling me about like how people were guarding the storefronts on First, and she wasn't allowed to walk down there because her dad was like, I want to go join them. I'm going to go get my gun and I'm going to join them and guard the storefronts. And she was like yelling, arguing, crying with her father. And that's like, it's like a traumatizing conversation to have with your father about basic human rights, you know? And it's the kind of thing that they didn't talk for maybe like a month about. And it scared her. It scared her not because of like thinking that her father was right. It was scared her because like, oh my God, the environment I'm in is not safe for everyone. You know? She couldn't even leave her own house. And so when it does air again, I'm gonna send it to her. Hopefully she doesn't cry again, but it just like triggered the memory because it's kind of like a phone call I would forget about unless we were just talking about First Street. And she just told me like it's very normal for like a Confederate flag to be seen at like Snohomish High School. And it made me think the second to last football game that I cheered at for Mariner was against Arlington High School. And their theme was America. And there was Confederate flags being waved around. There was Trump flags. And I was shocked. It's like the most unsafe environment I've like ever stepped foot in, I think. And I had to tell my team to not talk crap when we were leaving the stadium and entering the stadium for like safety reasons. And like it made me feel like unsafe for myself, unsafe for my Black teammates or any of my teammates of color. And it's just like the two connect. It's just unsafe for everybody. It's not a good mindset to have, especially in this day and age. That's my tangent.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I have a different type of respect for people that have to deal with racist people in their family that have a completely different ideology than like, you know, like you were saying, your friend and her dad, like that takes a different type of strength to like fight that out with them. And like I said, I don't know, honestly, I don't know if I could do it. So I have a different type of respect for those people. And also, yeah, just I feel like there should be literally for schools at least, like a policy saying you cannot bring that flag around because it does make students of color feel unsafe and unwelcome. And at the end of the day, like Serenity and Taitiana were saying, at the end of the day, the only thing the flag comes down to is slavery. Like that's not American history. They tried to paint it out to be, but at the end of the day, it's slavery. That's all it comes back to. So yeah, I feel like there should definitely be policies against that because it's not okay to make, you know, the students of color feel like they have to act a certain way because we already feel like that every day. Like we don't want to have to act like that in fear for our lives, you know? My mom had something to say.
Yeah, I was just wondering because I also missed it, but I saw live video feed from it from two of my friends that I've had for years, Black men that were just driving down the street and there were shotguns loaded in the fronts of the stores and the N-word being thrown out. And they were recording all of that live. But I would like to see the documentary. So since you two joined, maybe you could reach out to the host of that and see if there's a way that they could repost or share it so that more people could view it, even if it's just on your page or something. Just because I've run across a lot of people, because I'm light skinned, they feel really super comfortable saying things. And often in my generation and a little bit older, they go, well, I didn't even know any of that existed. Like racism's not that big of a deal anymore, is it? Yes, it is. And it's everywhere you keep trying to take me. And maybe because I can pass, you feel like that's okay, but it's not okay with me. It doesn't make me feel comfortable and I don't like being there. And I don't think a lot of people think of that because, especially because you, myself, Taitiana, we're light skinned, they think that we can just fit in anywhere. But what they're not understanding is that we have roots that we don't, I don't want to be around them and I don't want to feel unsafe and I don't want to be anywhere that anyone in my family, my son, my father, your father wouldn't be welcome. So I think that there needs to be more awareness because yes, we expect it, but a lot of people still think that that's not what's really happening. They think it's just somebody blowing it out of proportion. So if we could really share that documentary, that would be amazing.
Yeah, the information about what it's called, at least is on our page, but I think me and Taitiana could definitely try and talk to somebody and see where it is available or if it will be available. And then in the chat, Serenity said, did you know the flag, the Confederate flag that they fly around is actually a battle flag? It wasn't even their actual flag. So y'all over here taking pride in something that's like not even, okay, continue. Anyways, Taitiana.
Yeah, a few things. So, oh, and of course, as I start talking, I literally just forget everything. Kind of going back to the awareness though that your mom brought up. A few months back in, I believe it was May, we had a family dinner in the Outback in Smoky Point. And my family, I mean, I have a lot of family on my dad's side, but my dad's not close to them, so I don't really know them. But the family members that are like immediate to me, there's literally, it's just my cousin and her fiance and then like my siblings. And my cousin is Filipino. She looks Mexican, but she is Filipino. So she's got color to her. And then there's me, my brother who's darker than me, and then my sister's also darker than me. And then my fiance came as well. So there's like, we're pretty like half and half of like colored people, because my grandparents and my mom is very white passing, and my sister's boyfriend and my cousin's fiance are both white. So it's pretty like a good mixture. And like we were just, you know, sitting there eating whatever. And I didn't really notice because I'm super oblivious to everything that goes on around me. But like we were taking a family picture outside, and my mom, like when she gets upset, like she gets red and she gets like blotches all over her chest. Like she gets like the Hulk, but red. And she was getting so irritated because like people were just kind of like glaring at us and like being like, you know, like, what are you doing here? And because there's, you know, 5+ Black people out here in this white ass town. And like, it's super uncomfortable. And my mom was like, she told my grandparents, she's like, I don't ever want to go back up there again. Do not invite me if you're going anywhere in Smoky Point, because we're literally just going to get stared at. And I'm very grateful that she kept her mouth quiet, because she, like I said, like she's fired people. She's gotten people fired. Like she will go off. So like, I'm just glad she didn't really say anything then. But for my grandparents, because, well, my grandpa's Filipino. Like, what am I even talking about? My grandpa's literally Filipino. Like people cannot understand his accent. Like he's straight out of the Philippines, like came over here when he was a kid, had to go through the jungle. Like, I'm not even kidding. But my grandma's super white, and like her unawareness is just, it's like how, because her dad is extremely racist, like KKK member. And it's just like, how are you so oblivious to your own family being basically taunted by all of these white people around? It's because she feels comfortable. Like she doesn't feel any type of way. She doesn't feel threatened. She doesn't feel like she needs to change the location of anything because she is this white woman. And like we do, like my mom speaking up, like that was great. Like to my grandparents, like we haven't gone back out there and we're not going to. And it's just like, yeah, I need to be more aware of what's going on, because even though like I am light skinned, I'm light skinned to Black people, but to white people, I am Black. And I really want everyone to understand that when white people look at me, they don't see that I'm half Black. They literally see I'm just a Black girl, I'm different from them, and they don't want to be a part of it. Please understand that. And like I need to be more aware of what's going on around me and bring the awareness to like, I don't feel comfortable going here because of, you know, just the area that it's in. Like that is very important. And I do think we need to do more of that. And hopefully within the future, everyone will have like Mexican babies and Black children, and just like everyone will be diverse, and it'll just be like, we can all just bake a cake and be happy. I also wanted to bring up, God, every time I start talking, it just goes out of my ears. Oh, the documentary, the Confederate flag. I put the title of it in the chat. Please go watch that. It is like your jaw, as soon as this kid Justice, his name is Justice, so perfect. He's on our side. As soon as he talks, like my jaw dropped his whole speech, because it was just facts after facts after facts after facts against this white boy named Drake. And he was like stuttering his words after, like he didn't really know what to say. And it oh my God, it is a masterpiece. And they're just high schoolers. Like they're not like high educators or anything. Like they're just having a regular ass high school debate. And all of these people, like there were a lot of people that were like, you know, we should be able to do whatever we want. Like Confederate flag's not that bad. But then there were like a lot of people who were like against it. And they're like, what do you mean? Like, like, please, I put the title down, please go watch it. Like, oh God, okay, before I forget, the last thing I wanted to mention was within the Proud Boys who went to that rally, at least one of them traveled to Washington, DC to storm the Capitol and got arrested. And I don't know why I was surprised by that information, but I was just like, you're so willing to literally travel states to go storm this Capitol for your rights and your freedom, and you don't want, because the election was rigged. Like what? He's like, this isn't about politics, and they're literally fighting about politics. I don't know. Anyway, I saw this other documentary. It's on HBO. I don't know if anyone has HBO. I think it's called 4 Hours at the Capitol. So good. It really gives you an insight of like these people's mindsets, and you're kind of just like, what the fuck? Sorry. And you're just, so please please go watch that, bring awareness, do what we need to do to get this shit moving in the right direction.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you guys, everybody, for your thoughts on today's Zoom. Racism obviously never stops happening, so it can always be a topic. And like everyone's saying, there's this one quote. It was like something like, "Oh, you don't care about politics," and he was like, "Yeah, why would I?" Blah blah blah. And really, like, it sucks because being Black, your existence is political. Like everything you go through has to do with, some type of politics. So that's what I think a lot of people should think about is, yeah, it doesn't affect you, but just being Black is a political statement. So like, yeah, thinking about, again, how everything affects others, I think is super important. And yeah, that documentary is a really good way to like see into people's actual experiences, because it's not just, in the South where there's racism and all this. No, it's happening in our own backyards more often than we even realize, I feel like. So yeah, if nobody has anything else to say, I'm gonna stop the recording.